Okay, second time is a charm too. It's okay, we're good. This is what the struggle is right now. The struggle is Zoom and technology. And that was the reason why I originally had said a blessing. So I know that there's a few new people on Zoom. So if it's okay with everybody else, I am going to introduce myself. So you'll have to hear it twice for some of you, but it is really sacred and important to me. Again, because things like this on Zoom can cause miscommunication. I also believe, and we'll get into this today, about manufactured disunity, and sometimes technology can also be a part of that, even though it is sometimes a revolutionary blessing, right? Okay, so I just want to tell everybody again, Piali no chime kwalitonali, nano toka klamachtika Cipactli Corral so sepeli, nani ewa wan noe tatawan pan kahita wan tawes klali, nani nemi pan kilali klali. Needs to on Zoom with all of my beautiful people that I see now. I said, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Candi Cipactli Corral, and I am a Xica tribe. My ancestor also from Cajita and Tahues lands, Sinaloa, Mexico. And I currently live on Kinlani lands in so-called Flagstaff, Arizona. And it's an honor to be here. I also had asked everyone to unmute to give a shout out to the lands that you were on. So if you want to do that real quick, please shout it out, unmute, and let me know what lands you're on.
Chichansi.
Yo!
Olone.
Yo!
Carolino, solo Guateca.
She'd occupied Yoka land.
Aho.
Lakota, Dakota land.
Yo!
Wawateca, Nanogona.
Sister Anna from Virginia land.
Andale, Classic Amati, it is an honor to be here with all of you and to be holding sacred the lands that we are on. I just want to say that it is an honor to be here with all of you. You all are beautiful warriors. I have seen so much, so many things in El Movimiento through the years. I've been in the movement since I was born. I was telling everybody before that I come from working class proletarian family. We lived on a mountain. I grew up with my best friends were actually my scorpions, my lizards, my snakes, the tierra in between my toes and in my crazy hair. And I left the espinas there until my mother cut my hair because she got mad at me for not washing it. Part of that struggle was learning how to move from what I didn't know then was an indigenous way of living, because it just was for us, to I moved to the west side when I was around 10 years old, 10, 11 years old. I didn't know what a west side was. I moved into an urban center, and moving from my dirt to that concrete was very difficult for me. I took a path in that movement, associating even more with my Chicano and Chicana brothers and sisters. And a lot of us were experiencing system impacted things that led me to, yes, joining a gang. And I say that with the smile on my face because it was an extended family for me. And it has been part of my lifelong struggle to work towards decriminalizing our brown skin. That is always something very dear to me, watching a lot of my relatives go to prison, separating families, separating mujeres from their hombres, and then blaming us for that struggle. So I took it upon myself to try to get out of that life. As I was trying to move out of doing that, I came across by chance some of the most wildest things that I could imagine. And one of the things that I recently shared with everybody at a previous Zoom meeting was the time that I went to the Arizona State Fair. And it was because we were there to see Ice Cube in concert, and he was with, I think it was Aerosmith. It was another rock band. And they had the cops come in, of course, because we're all getting rowdy. And there was Black and Brown unity. Black and Brown unity then was really complicated to me because I was in a high school where riots were happening. Violence was lateral violence. It was system violence. and we didn't understand ourselves. We were robbed of understanding ourselves because of that manufactured violence put on us. And so when I was at that concert and the police were starting to come through the back, it was all of us in the crowd that got the police to move back. And in that moment, it was really strange to me. This is the 90s, right? Ice Cube takes the microphone from the other rock band and he starts saying, "Whose power?" And we say, "Our power." And he's doing this on the mic. He's getting everybody pumped up because he's excited that we got the pigs to leave. And I didn't know really my sense of radicalness until he started dropping names that I went looking for. He said Kwame Ture's name. And I thought, well, who is that? You know, and all of us in the 90s on the streets. And I had moments of being homeless and things. And so the library to us wasn't Google on our phones. We actually went to the local city library and we were looking for someone named Kwame Ture. And how many of you can guess we didn't find anybody in the library named Kwame Ture? And so it was things like that that happened along the way for me that made me come into being in a radicalized sense of self. So I understood my Chicanic self. I understood my lizards and my scorpions. I understood when I was, you know, it was going to be time for me to have my revolutionary seeds. I understood a lot of those things, but in this radicalized way, it had to be born in a way that presented itself when I was surrounded by my homies, when I was surrounded by the struggle. And this realization brought me to all of the beautiful people that I've worked with through the years. I had to figure out who these revolutionary were. I was still in that moment of trying to be my descendant, my direct descendant of Luz Corral, trying to fill those revolutionary boots. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the US military, but I want to fill those boots. What do I do? And so I became a brown beret. And I thought, okay, this is still not enough. I want to do more, because while working as a brown beret, I realized there was still a lot of toxicity in the movement. There was still a lot of our own people butting heads. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like it was really our people that were fighting each other because we just inherently are mad at each other. It was this manufactured hate, the self-hate that was projected into us. All of these things were part of the reasons why I became a brown beret. Little did I know, in 2010, I had graduated with my master's degree. And I decided, when everyone was pushing me, you got to register to vote. And I had never registered before. And so then I was like, but I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat. What do I do? And then everybody's saying, put down that you're Raza Unida Partido. And I was like, oh shit, yeah. So I wrote it on the thing, and I thought, oh, this is so great, but I didn't know what it required. I didn't know how to be a member of that. And that has changed through the years. And so in my journey, I meet beautiful hermanas and hermanos, and I meet Doreen Neville, which you guys have already seen a presentation from my dear, dear sister. And I meet all these beautiful people along the way that I have the honor to work with. We put boots on the ground. We do some crazy things. I honestly bring things that I learned in being in a gang and being homeless. And I had to transform the toxicity out of myself, right? I had to figure out, how do I move from understanding that I was dealing with this struggle. And so I had defense on me in a different way. And now I had to understand defense and put that to work in a communal way, communal defense. We're not violent, right? We're actually not violent people. We're not the savages. And all of these things started to come, especially as I had my revolutionary seeds. So as I was meeting all these people along the way, and I was so resistant to everything, they said, okay, well, because you did so good in education, which was one of the hardest fights I've ever been in, I think I'd rather be shot at. I end up taking on these ventures, I would say. They said, well, all of these people are being invited to Europe because they need to go talk at the United Nations about the war. They need to go talk about nuclear bombs. And it was everything that I had studied about. And so then I was like, I can go. And they're like, oh yeah, you got money? And I was like, nope. So I went and I sold over 1,000 pounds of enchiladas, and I did all kinds of crazy things, convincing some of the system people to give me money, because I told them The VFW was one of them. I told them, you all failed. You failed the people. And we need to recover our people. So give me a chance to do this. So I went all the way to Europe, and they said, what's the first thing that you thought of when you got here? And as I was sitting around this table of all these fancy things, and it was very new to me, and I was very scared. And one of the things that I always struggled with was that I didn't want to lose myself during this movement. I never wanted to sell out. I never wanted to become the system. And that's a very scary thing when we look at academia, especially because the colonizers own that shit. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And everybody standing up would say, oh, this is how I'm going to introduce myself. This is my name. I'm so happy to be here. I'm very blessed because my parents had money. I'm very blessed because of this or that, you know? And so then I thought, all right, either I'm going to just give a short and sweet, hello, you know, I understand. And I said, no, that's not me. I can't do that. So there I was in Europe, standing up in front of people that I was working with at the parliaments of 4 different countries in Eastern Europe about communism. And I stood up and I said, actually, I'm a Xicana. I'm from the West Side. I have no money. I sold a lot of enchiladas to get here. I'm here to talk about how my people are ignored on the international scene, that while you guys are chopping up statistics about what bomb can do what, we are actually dealing with bombs in our neighborhoods, talking about alcohol issues. I'm talking about system impact issues and things. And they listened to me. They listened to me, and it was freaking wild. And I thought I was going to get kicked out every day that I was there. But I met some interesting people. I made some good connections, and I brought it home. I brought it home to share with the land here. And I found other indigenous people in Europe, people who were scared to speak up. And so I knew then that our voices is always right there on the front line. And so then I need all of my soldadas. I need everybody. I need all of us there. And as I figured all of this out, and I still have so much more to figure out, I began to grow more into my decolonizing journey. And I didn't even know that that was a word. I just knew that that's how we needed to be in movement. I know I'm rambling, and I know Sister has some questions for me, but I'll stop there for now. I just wanted to introduce some of my crazy stories and get you a sense of who I am.
Thank you so much, hermana, and I really love your spirit. I know anytime that we talk, we always, they're serious subjects, right? But you always bring that, somehow you manage to make me smile and laugh. So I could just imagine you sitting there making some bomb-ass enchiladas to sell. I hadn't heard that story before. But a few things came up for me as you were speaking. One is that you mentioned Kwame Ture, and one of his quotes that I really like is that it is your people and your people only who will advance you. You know, and so when we're talking about liberation, many times we seek that outside of ourselves. And so stepping outside of that box to decolonize our thinking that somebody is going to come and save us. Nobody's coming to save us. We have to do it for ourselves. So I thank you for sharing your experiences. I know that when we were speaking earlier this week, you had mentioned about, we had kind of talked about the last Plática with Sister Doreen and your experiences with her. And we talked about el plan espiritual de las mujeres de Aztlán. And you had shared with me just some of the strides that we have made since that document was first put together. Could you share some of those things with us, please?
Yes, there's so much in that. Yes, Kwame Ture is really pushing us to reconsider what the self is, especially when we talk about what a national movement would be. We have the colonizers spitting all kinds of stuff in our ears 24/7 to teach us that in order to even say the word nationalism, we somehow are we're accomplices to the white supremacy somehow. I don't know, but I think that all of us know that we're not. We're accomplices for each other out in the streets, in life, with our ancestors on our backs and forward, 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. This is really important to me. When I met my sister Doreen and we did some work together, it was really important because when I was asked to be part of the Mujeres de Islam, that is an honor to me that I held very sacred. And I also read these documents and I knew of the plan and all these things. And I always picked from it and said, okay, this is from the struggle that my sisters had. These words are speaking to things that we can say that we have in common, but different times, different struggles, different people. So then how do we transform our understanding of self-consciousness to a communal consciousness? And I always had so much respect for those documents, honestly, because there were things that were being called upon. You can clearly hear that there is friction between our hombres and mujeres in the movimiento. But if you, and we still have those today, we're working on them. I have a lot of beautiful, beautiful brothers that are always working, and sisters too. We're always working on that. But when we were talking about those documents, we talk about what social justice is. They're always, Mujeres de Islam, always asking for unity. The unity in the Raza Familia is not to always focus on our gender conflicts. We have so many conflicts, right? But it's all rooted in healing. And I want to say the quote in one of the documentos that I have here. It's been said, quote, that we stand on the shoulders of our past warriors as Mujeres de Islam, or Nuevo Ser, has resurfaced as a group on Facebook, on Socialandia, right? We have social media as one of the vehicles that we have to project a revolution according to our terms, right? And so for me, that was always really important because we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, okay? We have ancestors. We will be, one day when I return to Tonantzin, I'll have the dirt all over me and I'll return to her, and then I will be an ancestor. And then the thoughts of that, then what are we leaving the youth with? What are we projecting? That the system has captured our youth's minds, and like a vaccine shot self-hate straight into our blood. But there was a conflict there. It's not part of our DNA. We have communal love. We have our ancestors. And so then even when I read in the 70s, when I had the plan is always with me, I have it here with me, that we want to eliminate exploitation of man by man in every form and eliminate oppression of women so that both hombres and mujeres are igual. That equality, right, has been transformed past equity. It's been transformed past liberation. Now those chains that are mentioned in those documents, our chains may look different at times, right? We have the chains from our distant brothers and sisters that come from the chains of Amistad, okay? When we talk about crossing the ocean, when we talk about those hardships, we have chains here from the revolution. We have chains of everywhere that we can think of, and those chains are going to be broken with this different type of unity that we move from the self to the communal. That's how we save the youth. That's how we move forward. All these plans are going to be updated. You know, you can make a manifesto, you can make a manifesto, and there's going to be demands. There's going to be bullet points, and there's going to be these calls out for people to do certain things, principled organizing, right? And all of that was in the plan. It's really calling not just for the liberation of women. And that was something that I know I talked to you about before, and I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. But when people say women hold up half the sky, I always argue with them. I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Women been holding up the whole damn thing. I need my brothers to help me out here. You know, and it's because a lot of unnecessary things have been placed on both of our shoulders. You know, we've given the hombres, go out, work, and we want you to work to your death at such a young age. We want you to take the responsibility of raising your family. And we've transformed those things at this point, but it's still happening. And so then that weight causes, you know, certain things that happen in the home, and the same thing for the women. So I'm looking at everybody like, who's holding the sky up? Sometimes it feels like it falls on us. And I'm looking for Quetzalcoatl in the sky. I'm looking at Tonatiuh, and I'm looking at all the things that are in place. And it's because Tonantzin is hurt. She's hurt. And so those planned for the Mujeres de Aztlán means that we're actually focusing on that relationship that we have with the land. If we don't heal the land, if we don't heal Tonantzin, if we don't heal the universe, then we're still going to be in this chaotic Napantla place, you know? And so I had so much respect for Mujeres de Aztlán to call for these things, but we've extended those demands. We've extended them, I think.
I absolutely agree with you, hermana. And that's part of what the movimiento is about, is moving things forward. And we're looking at those documents that, you know, el plan espiritual de Aztlán, el plan espiritual de las mujeres de Aztlán. How do we bring that together to reflect the conditions of today? Because our familias do not look the same. They can't look the same, not with the struggles that we have with, as you mentioned, brothers being incarcerated, with the poverty, with these false borders. They can't possibly look the same. And so it's a constant adjustment to even survive. And while at the same time that we're trying to survive within these oppressive conditions, how do we move things forward so that we're not just surviving, but we are living and we are working towards the liberation of, like you said, all oppressed people. So I think, hermana, that this is a good segue for one of your poems. I know you shared with me that you had one that you had recently written, and if you could share that with us, that would be a blessing.
Okay. All right. Let me give you just a brief little synopsis of this poem that I wrote. When I do spoken word, sometimes you never know what you're gonna get. I'm serious. I'm always in my emotion, and my emotion is always grounded in rage, and I honor my rage. My rage is the most beautiful thing, other than my revolutionary seeds. I know that those are my number one beautiful things. But when I created this, it took me a couple nights. I think something pissed me off, and it was because I'm constantly being questioned as a mujer in spaces, especially where I work. And then, of course, in the streets, especially when I've had white supremacists here in so-called Flagstaff, Arizona, jump out at me up from the bushes and fight, like literally throw bros at me. And that's why I do communal defense training. But no, it really, when something pisses me off, it usually ignites sarcasm and some funny things, but in all honesty, some very real things that I go through on a daily basis. So this poem actually is titled To My Future Partner. So I'm gonna take you through, it's kind of accounting for from like a 6 a.m. look to the end of my day. All right, to my future partner. 6 a.m., that annoying replacement for Blondie, that was my rooster. The cacophony of deafening alarm buzzes in my ears. More than once because I snooze. I snooze on the expectations telling me to get up, be in a rush, get ready. Never painting 5,000 pounds of makeup on my face, chale, but I got liquid eyeliner on ya, listo. I snooze on the expectations that I must perform my girly duties. Yeah, I make tortillas. My panza and my ancestors speak to me. I'll make you some if you're radical enough, and after mijos get some. I snooze on the expectations that I must work more than my man's so-called counterparts who have no part telling me how to perform with my body. I snooze just long enough until my thoughts begin to disperse across landscapes and narratives that don't serve me. You're too smart. You're too put together. You're too radical. You work too much. You need to work more. What if my family stops talking to me? Ay, es mijo, mijito, and mijo, okay? Damn. I shouldn't have said yes that night in Encanto Park. Did my mom know I lost my cherry? Did I make the water boil like they said when I walked in their Christian erected holy buildings, power tripping seances? I should have told the holy people they can't slut shame a virgin with a pedophile stealing my beautiful brown brothers behind their holy backs. I get up. Did you know by 10 a.m., I've already sent emails, checked the weather, graded papers, fed the cats, fed the dogs, fed the lizards, the bugs, the birds, the mariposas, the squash, melons, and the corn. I fed myself books y tortillas, cafecito, chopped it up with mi hijita and tonatua. Tonancin, my mom, my dad, my abuelitos, and scanned mi casita for whatever else needs love. Oh, and I've smudged. By 11 a.m., I've texted mi hijito, good morning, what's your day look like? While preparing lunch and lecture schedules for the week. By 12, looking at my phone for some romantic text I'd probably ignore for a couple of days, not because I'm not interested, but because of things like, hey, ma, let me see your sexy body. Patriarchy, always trying to rape my morning mood away. Because things like, oh, you're a profesora, you're so smart. Oh, you making feria and don't want to fly thousands of miles from my rich, maybe poor broke ass, but you know, cater to me. You call those pickup lines? Because did you know that by 12:30, I've decided nothing and everything at once. I know that tonight will be caldo de res. It will last a few meals unless Mijo comes over. I know that next month, we will have menudo y carne asada, maybe birria, because you know, the first of the month, our panzas will be full and not from being bloated with emptiness, coyote growling sounds secretly telling me to run until the sun goes down. I know that if I don't pull my brown, light skin, hazel eyes, fro curly, dark hair, no shoes having ass out the clouds, I'll be late to work. I keep writing this poem. 13 minutes later, did you know by 1 p.m., I've decided you don't exist and my queer movement liberates me to say, yeah, you can wait. By 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., I've drove cautiously, recklessly, past pigs with those honeydew list wives as they wet themselves thinking of raping me or making me bleed out more than my moon, bumping rap and oldies corridos and jumpy oldies, raged and cussed, cried, visited memories of my parents, mis abuelitos, my failures and successes back and forth to work and home. Have I looked in the mirror today? Wait, is my eyeliner on firme? Time for you? That's not the issue. You're tall for a girl. You're smart for a Chicanx. I'm sensitive, angry, giggly, serious, 90s gangster, unpacking all that machismo bullshit. Never moody, practical, unsettled, undomesticated, untamed. I think that's what those basic people say. Shit, I'm the hottest salsa ravaging your digestive system with gut-wrenching pain so good you come back. I'm raw, sexual, no sex, maybe. I'm home. It's 7 p.m. and I'm just getting ready. Did you know I've cooked and listened to day stories, corn stories, washed dishes, spoke to La Luna in Nahuac, visited the corn, the lizards, papalo, nopalito outside of my window? There's a world out there. It's queer. By 10:30 p.m., I'm looking for that thing I forgot to do. I've negotiated my time for the day, the week, the season. I've negotiated having a drink. I've smudged, checked my phone and my skin. I've checked my alarm as it's set. I've checked my growth and do's and don'ts. I've carried thoughts, mine and not my own. Here, you can have them back. By 11, I've passed out after burning some Santo Palo. Renegotiated all my negotiations, pues some, but my hazel eyes ain't closed yet. I'm fierce with determined dreams and trauma in between. My emails, texts, check the mail, they all set in West. My future partner? Did you know I'm beautifully weird? Brown Chicanx put together by my ancestors and a mess. Don't try to clean it up or fix. I have things perfectly placed where I won't forget.
And this is where we all snap.
Finger snap.
This is where we all snap, sis. Esa es
Yes.
una chingona. That's what you should have named it, chingona.
Ay, clásico Mati.
A ti, hermana, a ti. So at this time, we're going to open up the floor so that others can join in. If you guys have comments, I obviously cannot see raising of hands on the Zoom chat, being that I'm on the phone. So feel free to jump in if you have a comment or a question for our sister. Now would be the time.
Veronica, thank you for inviting me to this. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, sis.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. I guess my question or comment would be, it's been an honor to listen to you speak, and I love the poem. Veronica knows that we're poets, so definitely finger snaps to that. But my question is, what is your advice to somebody who may be starting out fresh in the movement?
Andale, I love it. That is a beautiful question. That always makes my heart just want to jump out my skin. It's a very difficult thing. Part of the things that I always tell the youth when I'm teaching or when I have circulos is that first and foremost, you're needed, and that I am so thankful for your existence. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot coming at you. There's so much. There's a lot of drama too sometimes in all collective organizing. It can be rough. There's times where you feel exhausted and you just want to give up. There's sometimes that we have so many criticisms about a particular organization that it's difficult to say, sort of like that idea that we hear in the streets, that ride or die. And I call bullshit in the same sense that I have held that comment up to no end. Oh yeah, I'm your ride or die. But then when I realized, oh, wait a minute. Oh, you expected me to stick around with all that abuse. Oh, chale, that's not going to work, right? So then we have to teach the youth and people who are just coming into the movimiento that there's a struggle to be had. We have to be honest with that. There's going to be things. I'm not going to tell someone don't quit, because I don't believe that our movement is any part of quitting. Whether you leave organizations, whether you start new ones, whether you're signing up for one that's already there. Either way, there's work to be had, and our existence is beyond resistance. They want us to stay in defense, and we have offensive, creative things that we're working on. And so then it's a beautiful thing if we can move forward. I always tell people, get involved, get into the collective. We need communal consciousness. And that's the first step to get rid of all that self-hate. We got to unpack it. It's healing. It's more healing than anything. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amida, for joining. And I think you bring up a good point, sister. We can't sit in isolation and expect things to change. That's the colonized mindset, that I'm just taking care of me and mine. We can't do that. We have to step outside of our shell, as uncomfortable as it may be. We have to do that. We will not make it as a people if we stand as individuals. Hermana, can you do me a favor?
Yeah, I was seeing someone raise their hand, so that's why I was waiting.
Yes, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, my name is Vanessa, and I had a question. Hi, look that I'm over here in Olone, in Northern California, in Oakland. And I became a mother 2 years ago, and I'm pregnant again. And thank you. But like my family's been displaced, and same history, right? So we're building. I mean, me and my partner and myself, like we're still like children at heart, trying to like heal our wounds and build our community. And I'm just wondering like how you prioritize, or what you have seen, like what good traits have you seen mothers prioritize whenever they're raising like these young seeds to be revolutionary, but to still have like, the balance of putting themselves first. It's just like really complex. I'm like trying to pay the bills and I'm trying to do everything, but I also have this little one. And so it's just like a lot. And I'm just wondering what you do or what you have seen done that is, positive.
First, I just want to say that I am so happy that we're going to have more revolutionary seeds with us. And that's such a beautiful thing. Every time that, I feel like we're all mothers, right? And that's healing Tonantzin right there. It is so difficult. I probably because one of my revolutionary seeds is right here. Maybe she wants to say something to that question too. I think that first and foremost, we have to consider what I call a radical truth. The school system, the people around us, even our most favorite family members, without bad intentions, will also reiterate some of the harm that comes to us from the system and from expectations on how to get down, mainstream ways of living that disconnect us from Tonantzin. All of those things will come at us. So even on our best days of our crazy mother selves, when we're having that hard time and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what the answer is to this, and whatever that may be, we have to also acknowledge the radical truth is that we have pieces externally going against us. And we cannot expect ourselves to always be in some sort of perfect parentlandia. All of us, have a part in how we decolonize from those system things. So how we bring in the healing of Tonantzin to our children is how we're going to be radical. How we bring in the healing of Tonantzin is going to be our self-care that translates into the communal care. They are watching, they're watching us all the time, and they'll follow in our footsteps, but they're also going to clean up the footsteps. Like when I didn't take such good steps, they're there to clean it up too. It is a social relation that we're in. And so that is always the first one that's important to me, is that radical truth, telling our kids, telling our revolutionary seeds that they are part of the movement. They are born into a very beautiful blood memory and bloodline that it honestly made the colonizers afraid of us. And we need to start, kind of healing the fears that we've had inside of us and realizing that that was a colonial setup. And so we have to overcome that setup, and it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. And I like what hermana Veronica was saying about doing it in a communal way. Sometimes we do self-care and we hole up and we're like, oh, I got too much on my plate. I've got too much going on. I have stuff going on at home and things like that. And that's still part of communal care. It's still impacted, because if you're making your kids in the beautiful way that you are, you're healing me, you're healing mine. They're going to heal each other. And so I have a lot of confidence in that. And I appreciate that question too. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That's a great question. I just want to add to that. I know what it's like to overload in the cause, and to answer something, I just want to say, be honest with your children. Don't be afraid to share the truth with them as you're also speaking truth to the community. Sometimes we reach out to the community and to the cause, but we forget to take care of ourselves, and we forget to reach out to our own children, even though we don't do that on purpose. So I have a daughter who's 8, and I inform her of everything, and I take her to rallies with me and protests with me, and we talk about issues even at 8 years old. So I just want to add, just be true to your daughter or to your kids, be honest with them and take them with you along the way, and lead by example. They'll see everything you're doing and the effects in the community and in the cause, and that truly will make a difference on them as a child. So good luck with that. Congratulations on the babies.
Thank you.
Anybody else, feel free to jump in. And if not, hermana, do me a favor, since
There's
I can't
one person with their
see.
hand.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Rafa, I'll make this quick. I apologize. It's been awesome listening to Doctora. I've had her in my study groups, and people are always, and I've been amazed with your accomplishments and what you do and how you lead. I was going to ask you, for those who might go to school or might be entering the quote unquote professional world, what is some of the things you dealt with? And I think you mentioned some of them in the poem, you alluded to them, but how do you cope or deal with those two worlds of trying to remain true, and then this so-called professional world that we have to walk in at times? Thank you.
I love the question, hermano. Thank you. That was the toughest thing. So I've been through a lot. As I told you guys, I was in a gang. I had some of my homies took on prison time that I think all of us should have taken on, and I honor them for that. I am grateful for my existence. Things that I had went through in the streets were fairly, I don't know, they're pretty crazy. I honor that. When I walked into academia, those walls were different. I couldn't fight that the way that I grew up understanding what fighting was. Believe me, there were days I wanted to throw chingazos so bad. There were people that were doing the most sexist, racist things, getting away with it. Sitting in graduate classes where even the professor would allow hate speech while I watched my international brothers and sisters sitting in class with me deal with them ridiculing things such as farmer suicide in India. I mean, it was so pervasive. It wasn't just on us, but I mean, it's this global South and the diaspora that's here. There were other people that were hurting at the same time. And I thought, this is a house of pain. The academic institution is a house of pain. And my best mentor told me, Candi, these walls were not made for you. In fact, they will do whatever to get you out. I had to have that realization. Now, having that realization didn't mean it became easier because I had that realization. It helped me start to transform. What kind of tools do I have in my bag, in my medicina bag? What medicina do I need for this? Sometimes we have the streets, we have the protests, and we have chingazos all day long. Let me tell you, you don't want to confront a Chicana when she's mad. I'm one of them. If I start putting my hair up, look out. I'm not kidding. And I wanted to walk into those classrooms like that. And then it transformed into, late night cries. I want to quit. They don't deserve me. When I got to that page of looking at the institution on whether or not they deserved me, that was the transformation I needed in order to carry out going through my PhD. Okay. I had to reassess my presentation in there. Okay. Number one, I don't want to sell out. I don't want to lose my love language. My love language is connected to my ancestors and to my ghetto self. So if I want to cuss in that class, if I want to drop something that's in our language and it's because I understand it that way, I'm going to, and they're either going to kick me out or they're not. So that was one of my ways to survive. Then it was reframing those questions. Do I belong here? Fuck no, I don't. I know I don't, but guess what? I'm here because there's something that I want for a very personal reason. Is it going to help the people? Sure. But I mean, that time is pretty personal when you're sitting in those classes, especially if you're paid for it. It's very personal. So then what could I do for my revolutionary seeds? What is this struggle causing? I can't fight them on my own terms. I have to learn like 3 different languages. So I have my ghetto language. I have my English language. I have my other colonized language of Spanish, which they also wanted to correct. And then I have my Nahuatl, which they wanted to appropriate. So if I brought Nahuatl into the class, they're like, oh, let me write that new word down. And I'm like, no. You don't get to appropriate that. That's not yours to have. And so that struggle along the way, I have no clear-cut answer as to how I even made it through. They were literally trying to stop me the whole way, even up to the night I was submitting my dissertation. And the next day was my graduation. And so it was this obvious, I see the system is rooted against me and I understand why. Am I doing this for me and my kids and for my people? Okay, yeah, but how do I fight it? So I had to reach deep into my medicina, into my bag. I started to use my chamali. My chamali is my shield. So I started to create a new chamali for each day. Sometimes I bring my sage, I bring my copal. Sometimes it's whatever I'm wearing that makes me feel like I've got my armor on me. Sometimes I went and as I graduated and I walked across the line, I put on my brown beret. And they wanted me to wear the graduation cap and told me they would kick me off the turf if I walked up on stage with my brown beret. And so I did. I had to do certain things that were acknowledgement that I wasn't losing myself, and I refused. But the system was trying. It was trying to rape me the whole time. And so people who are going into academia, be prepared. Understand that the question is whether or not they deserve you, not whether or not you belong on their turf. you're transforming that turf, because you are your ancestors everywhere you walk, into whatever room. And then saying to yourself, do these people even deserve me? And maybe they do, maybe they don't, and maybe you get to decide. It is in your hands to decide whether or not you will give them you and what you look like, right? And so that was the empowerment that I had to draw on, honestly, hermano. It was very tough. But I recommend that people that are going into academia create whatever the safe spaces are for them. Hang on to those, reach out to others, kick their asses if we have to. And if you need to pull up on someone in academia, call me and we will go together. I will travel wherever we got to go, and I will show up for you. Even if it's a Zoom meeting or physically, you just need me there in the back of the room. I'm doing this now for some of the graduate students in my institution, and I just sit there. And if they tell me, hey, that's the professor that's giving me shit, you better believe that's the one that I'm giving the most heat. I'm staring them down. We've got to have each other's backs. Thank you, hermano.
Gracias, hermano Rafa. That brings up another quote for me, hermana. When I think about the struggle that you've been through to get where you're at in that academic world. And the quote is another one by Kwame Ture, where he says that knowledge has but one fundamental purpose: to alleviate the sufferings of humanity. Anytime you use education for anything other than the advancement of the struggle of your people, you've betrayed the blood of your people. And I think you speak so eloquently to that while you're navigating that world, that you don't lose yourself. And I truly respect you for that, because I went up to getting my bachelor's and started my master's, but it was something that at that time I chose to discontinue. So I respect you for it. I respect you for it, because each of us has a role to play, and whether it's in academia or not, we have to come into our full power, you know. And so what you speak to is just very inspiring to me. You know that. You are very inspiring to me. So thank you again.
Hermana. I just want to say that I'm very proud of you for the education that you have done. But in all honesty, I hold up our knowledge, our communal consciousness higher than ivory towers of academic degrees. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it's how we raise and how we heal Tonantzin. That is the most honorable, educated thing that we can do. And we hear in our blood memory, right? We hear the answers to how to do that. So thank you, Clasa Kamati. Letty, you had your hand up?
Hi, so thank you, one, for allowing me to be here. This is the first time I've been here. Rafa sent me the link, so thank you. But so recently I had put on Facebook, because I don't know, I mean, I'm in Reno, there's not a whole lot of places to go to study my history and who I am, where we come from. So I wanted to find out from other people, and I mean, you seem like the perfect person to be asking, pues, where would I even begin? Like, trying to find my history, who I am. I mean, I have my family history. I'm always going to have that. I know that for sure. I know where my grandfather comes from. I know where my bloodline comes from. I know que son chichimecas. I understand that. But I guess what I want to know is, like, I want to do psychology, but is that going to, I guess, hinder my growth? Is to help my people. You know, I want to make sure that the classes that I'm seeking are going to benefit me, to benefit my people, you know, not just me, so I can go around and be like, oh, I got a doctorate, or I got a degree, or I got this, or I got that, but soy chisma, you know, because I have this or whatever. I don't want to be like that. Everything that I do and every skill that I learn, I want to apply it to help my people. So I guess what advice would you give me on that?
Thank you to your ancestors for you being here. I think that's very beautiful, and thank you for sharing that with me. That is a really excellent question, because it was actually mijo and mijita, my oldest and my youngest, that were interested in psychology. And this was like, what, 2 years ago, about 1 year ago. We found this online Chicanic psychology group that I signed them up in, and it was on Zoom, you know, and everything. And it was to help understand how psychology, the academic side of psychology, has also been an accomplice to how we understand ourselves in this self-hate, because it comes from the colonizers' Western knowledge of psychology. So that's why sometimes you'll see, it may or may not work when some people go to mainstream counseling. Sometimes we come out with more harm. It's not harm reduction work. That's why I'm always like trying to push people towards some of the curandera circles and things like that, that mine and my daughter and everybody that we do is trying to find those spaces to figure out how we ground and then understand our ways of understanding our psyche. Our psyche comes from a different understanding of the universe and a balance of things that they don't teach you in those Western books. And so there's actually a Chicanic psychology book that goes through, you know, trying to find ways to decolonize what psychology studies have taught us. So that's one way. If you want to get that book for me so that I could share it with them. And then also, when you're doing that, I would say the best way, because like I don't live where my people are from. I've been blessed. The Dene and the Hopi Tewa people have honored me, and I have permission to be on Kinlani lands. And so there's still this struggle of trying to figure out some of my ancestry, right? And so every time, go outside. It doesn't matter where you're at. You could be all the way in Europe. You could be somewhere. Put your feet in the dirt. Barefoot, put your feet in the dirt. And then however you ground, sometimes I ground with copal, sometimes I ground with music, sometimes it's my giggling, who knows, you know, but go outside and put your feet in the dirt and do that several times. And then let your blood memory speak to you. However you start to ground, visions, understandings, direction will come to you. You need to tap into that, especially if you're not with your immediate family that can give you those ancestral connections or stories, because sometimes we've lost it through the process of colonization, right? And especially if we move. And sometimes, like my abuelitas, they didn't always tell us the stories either, you know? There's a lot to learn, but you got to start by putting your feet in Tonantzin, because she's the one that's holding all of our stories first. But that is really good. Psychology is... it's a field of study I didn't go into because I was scared of that. I was scared until I found out that there was people doing decolonial work around psychology. So definitely we need to put you in contact with those folks and see what you come up with from your ancestors too.
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, this is the...
That big bowl, is this still outside?
And who is, I can't see the, it's Joe Ken?
Let me...
Martinez?
Yeah, let me put it in the chat.
Okay, perfecto. Pues thank you, I appreciate that.
Clase que mate, ándale.
Put one of the leaves, put your coat on. Go dump the food in the garbage and then bring it inside.
Hermana, so we are now at about time, and I don't want the Zoom to kick us out because we're at time, but I do want to do one final thing, and I'll need your help for this.
Okay.
If you can just read out people's names, whoever is on the chat right now, whoever's on the Zoom meet.
Yeah, Letty, Vanessa, Amira, Cynthia, Danielle, Es, Ramona, Eduardo, Mira, Rafa, Blacknificent, or Blacknificently Black, Salazar, Hashir, Uru, and you, Hermana. That's what I see on my screen.
Okay, gracias, hermana. And so I want to honor each and every one of you for all that you do for your familias, in your communities, for all that you do for the movimiento. And I want to honor our ancestors and I want to especially thank you, hermana, for your time today, for sharing with us your knowledge and your experiences and sharing your story with us. And I also want to thank your daughter, Dulce. I don't know if she ever made her way to the camera, but it's just absolutely beautiful that she's right there with you.
Go get him
So
with the shoe.
So we honor you, Dulce. Sigue adelante la lucha. And I want to thank everybody again for taking the time out on a Sunday to join us. And I also want to say thank you to my life partner, Shabazz, who is on this call and joins us from the belly of the beast. Thank you for your support. And if there aren't any other comments, we are done for today. Hasta el próximo domingo. Que viva la raza.
Que
Viva la
viva.
raza.
Oh.